light and heat. Time to take a stand, boys, time to make a choice. Time to find our courage, time to be deployed. Make our only stand here, make our roads complete. All we waited for now, past and future meet. Get your weapons ready, kiss the ones goodbye. Now our time is coming, and it is not the time to cry. Settle wrong from right. In the time of conflict, when the bullets fly, in the space of seconds, a life you cannot buy. Face the facts before you, face the simple truth. We're hopelessly outnumbered, it's tragic but it's true. Make your last formation, take the final road. Now it's time for endings, now it's time to go. Fight the war. Time has come for the song to fade out and the voice to fade in. What's going on, everybody? It is a pleasure to see everyone tonight. Welcome to Friday the 19th, 8 o'clock p.m., actually 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard, and I hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome to everybody. Another big interview night, second in a row, which I'm really looking forward to, and I will introduce the guest in a minute. But first, I want to say hi to everybody. Hello to Zamaria. Hello to Shadowgazer. What's up, Sutifi? Hello, Not Diddy. What's up, Monkey? Hello, Mercurius. What's going on, Lord Sloth? What is up, Porquitos? What's up, Nogs? What's going on, Caged? Hello, Hillness. What's going on, Glob? Hello, Doc Jekyll. Dejobaan, which I think I know something about them. We're going to hear more about them in just a moment. Hello, Dark and Wolf. Hello, Crawler. What is up, Shadowed? I'm glad you did not crash your car, by the way, getting here from Quiznos. That would have been counterproductive, I think. What is up, Glog? What's going on, Fallen? Good to see you. And, of course, good to see Apples, who is our newest mod. So if you guys haven't already done so, definitely give Apples some congratulations on being the newest moderator of the stream. Pleasure to see everybody. And as Shadowed Mage has just been kind enough to post, the best thing you guys can do to support the stream going forward and to get information out about it is to do what he just did, which is to tweet the stream. Although, actually, I think it may be a different message. So I think Shadowed, who's really good at this, may be on adjusting it. Anyway, but you're going to be in just a moment doing the CTT. Click the tweet, the stream, so we can let everybody know about this interview that we're doing. Also, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to join my YouTube channel so that you can get past broadcasts of the stream. Highlights, including interview highlights, are still going to be kept here on Twitch. And so if you want to know about that, I actually highlighted the interview from last night with Dave Marsh and Carl Ruffles about Shadowgate. I highlighted that and put that up on my Twitch highlight channel, so you can check that out as well. But if not, definitely go to my YouTube for the past broadcast. And then last but certainly not least, the Steam group, which is where you can hang out in between streams and be part of the forums and all that kind of good stuff. So this next person that we're going to have on, our second interview guest, I'm actually really excited about. And of course, he is the person behind Elegy for a Dead World in part. And I just want to briefly say that this is a game that, as I told you all, you were almost in trouble for not telling me about, because I was looking through some stuff. This is about a week and a half ago. And this link popped up that was to this game that said a game that turns people into writers. And I was like, that's okay. So I clicked over to it, and I read about this game, which, as you're about to hear, is a game in which you go through these 3 dead planets and essentially write their epitaphs, if you will. And there are writing prompts, and you get to do it. And I'm like, beautiful graphics, beautiful music, you get to write a lot. And oh, by the way, the planets are based on 3 romantic poets, Keats, Shelley, and Byron. And I'm like, why was I not immediately informed about the existence of this game by everybody that knew me? No, fortunately, you're not in trouble, Glob. And the reason is because Glog, with a G, actually tweeted me that morning, the next morning, and was like, hey, just so you know, you should check this out. And I said, actually, I'm already speaking to them. So I reached out to them and was lucky enough to get a hold of them. And so I'm going to bring them onto the stream. Let me get rid of that. And let me put on this. Hello to everybody. Welcome all. And yes, I am very, very excited actually to be able to bring this person on, who is the founder actually of Dejobaan Games, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. If I'm not, I'm sure he's going to tell me. The founder of Dejobaan Games, and also the person who is responsible for getting back to me very quickly, for which I am most grateful. And so I am happy to introduce Ichiro Lambe to the stream. Ichiro, thank you for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I want to start by saying, first of all, am I pronouncing the game, the company name right? Is it Dejobaan, or am I getting that right or wrong?
You are one of the few people who just got it in the first try,
nice,
so
good.
Thank you.
All right, good. That's a good sign. So I want to start by asking, before we actually get into the game, just briefly tell us a little bit about your background, because I know that you started Dejobaan in 1999, I believe, but it was originally like a mobile game company originally, right? And then it's moved out to other things. Do I have that basically right about the overall product, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the industry on and off since, I guess you could charitably say 1988, when a friend and I got together and made a video game and sold it enough to buy our next computers. But I really started working in the industry around 93, 94, and I've been working in online games, such as that was in 94. And then I founded Dejobaan in 1999, and predominantly we did mobile, which back then meant Palm Pilot games, and then slowly over the course of the decades shifted over more to PC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which has been a seamless transition, or what? How would you describe it?
It's always interesting. It's a bunch of transitions. When you've been around, it's from PC to mobile to PC again to mobile to, I don't know, virtual reality glasses to cloud computing to Steam machines.
Yep.
It's been interesting. How about I put it that way?
Okay, that seems reasonable. Has Steam helped when the transition became? I mean, has it helped that be more possible? Then the reason I ask this is because I've had so many people that have told me through the greenlight process, through just the fact that it's got as big of an install base as it does, that Steam has sort of allowed them to make the next step. And coming from a Palm Pilot, which had none of those things, I would think this would be a little bit different. But I'm curious about how Steam helped with that.
Sure. So there are, first of all, hello to everybody. I see in the chat, everybody's saying hello. So hello.
Yeah, everyone say hi if you haven't already.
It's in my opinion, a really fascinating thing. Like when I cut my eye teeth on doing PC games. And our very first game was a Windows game. Mm-hmm. And then I said, I'm not going to make any money off this. I better go for Pocket PC and Palm Pilot.
Hmm.
And then I said, my true passion is creating maybe larger games, things that you don't fit into your pocket and you don't play on the subway. So why don't I try going back to PC? And I wrote a couple of games, and it was really difficult to get traction because you have, I don't know, back then it was like Computer Gaming World and PC Gamer and that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And the web was not nearly as big a thing. So what did you do to go get your stuff in front of a million people? Well, you had to literally mail PC Gamer a copy of your,
Yep.
program and so
Yep.
forth and so on. And around, it was okay, but around 2008, I emailed Valve and I said, hey, I want to learn more about this Steam thing. And I got a response from their biz dev director saying, oh, we'd love to have your game on it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And, I signed the contract and I got the contract back and it was signed by this guy, Gabe Newell. You might have heard of him. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, all right, this is pretty neat. And that blew everything open. I mean, it went from getting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on it to millions on every single game. And that was huge. It was sort of, I think, that and the App Store, iOS App Store
Right.
starting up was the start of this golden era, which is changing again today. But that was, I mean, it was sort of a magical time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me drill down a little bit. And then when you actually started getting the PC stuff, the first sort of major hit that I became aware of from you guys was the, I don't know how many I have to throw in there, the sort of gravity physics-based game. And that's actually one thing I'm going to ask about with this, because it strikes me that although you guys did lots and lots and lots of different games, there are some who would argue that you need a more, you need a coherent in quotes strategy, right? So you're looking for things where you're constantly trying to produce a particular version or type of game. But it seems to me that for you guys, from what I can tell, that has not been your guiding principle. I mean, your guiding principle is this is an awesome game of whatever type, and we're going to sort of release it as a consequence. Is that fair to say? I mean, that's the way you guys do things.
I think we do a good job of creating multiple little franchises.
Okay.
Obviously, we haven't created Minecraft, and we're not going to create like a Call of Duty thing. We do smaller games. So, an example of this sort of like mini indie franchise might be the game. So, 25 letter A's is a base jumping game where you jump off of a perfectly good building, you create your own stunts, and you flip people off for points. That we launched that in 2009, and we have been putting out iterations on that ever since.
Yeah.
So we put
Expansions
out,
or DLCs almost, or like full like different sequels basically, are they?
yeah. So we've done, the original Reckless Disregard for Gravity. We did a semi-sequel with Alchemy Labs called for the Awesome. That was for PC, Mac, and Linux. We did Four Sequels Mass Times Acceleration for mobile. And then we got a little creative. We said, let's, back when On Live was a thing, which, was what, maybe 3-4 years ago, something around maybe 3 years ago. We pushed it onto that platform. We're one of the, I guess, now most downloaded VR games on the Oculus Rift share
I'll
site.
bet you are.
And, we've just taken that in as many directions as we can, or we are taking that in as many directions as we can. And by the same token, I don't think we want to rest on our laurels, because how many base jumping games can you really play? If we were to do base jumping, 7, 8, 9.
I mean, you'd corner the market, I guess, but
we would corner. I think we'd exhaust the market.
yeah.
So one of the reasons why I got into games is to be creative, to do weird stuff. And I think we can be profitable by creating something wonderful that people like and following that up, as we did with and we do with our other games, but also by the same token to stay in business and to really flex our creative muscles, we need to do stuff that's new.
Right, that makes sense. And it actually reminds me a little bit of the philosophy of Supergiant games, which, I've often said that I think Transistor was a very brave game for them to do after Bastion. I don't know that I actually think Bastion's still, prefer best in myself. But I think that doing a game like Transistor was very brave, because even though they had some similar talent with the music and the voiceover folks, still a very different feel to that game, and a very different kind of thing. And it seemed to be in the same sort of ballpark where, you know, they're going to continue to produce stuff that's new, but that will always, you know, deliver a different kind of experience than someone's had before. And maybe that's a good way to put it. So in other words, you might create, I suppose, a mini franchise of Elegy for a Dead World 2, The Deadening, or something like that, but you could then see yourself going in a different direction if a game presented itself to you, right?
Well, we are now prototyping a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I think one of the strengths of Dejobaan is that we have a couple of a couple of irons in the fire at any particular time.
Okay.
So what we're probably going to do with Elegy is we will, we launched it, last week, a week and a couple of days ago. And we're gonna, as we do with everything, take that in a couple of directions. For instance, it's the first game I think we have that might make sense in the edu market. So we have that out to, I don't know, maybe 60 schools right now.
Yeah.
And they're trying it in any class from ESL classes to grammar classes to college level creative writing and literature classes. And what can we do with Elegy? We don't even know yet, but Elegy and the gamers and the market are going to essentially tell us. So we'll do a bunch of stuff with that, but at the same time, I don't think we can just rest on those laurels. We got to keep exploring and doing weird stuff.
And before I get into one more question, before I get into Elegy itself, if I can actually make sure that I didn't accidentally close it. So that's all right. I shall soldier on. So talk to me a little bit about sort of the process of, because some of these are games that are brought to you, right? I mean, games that other people, as you said, you're prototyping different ones. There are at least ones that other developers approach you from the outside, or is all of this stuff developed in-house as a possible idea and then sort of built upwards? And so I guess talk to me about partnerships that you may or may not have, I guess is the way to ask that question.
So we do two types of games. One is the more standard, you go in and you create a concept and then you have an internal team work on it, and you bring some contractors in perhaps and finish that up. And then the other type is what I call the indie dream team, where we're a small studio. Across 3 products we have like a dozen people working on our stuff. And so we have the benefit of being able to say, my God, I've always wanted to work with these other people. So for instance, with Elegy, there was a developer, Zyba Scott of Pop Cannibal Games. And I said, I really want to work with Zyba. And so I said to him, let's sit down and let's just prototype something for a week. So we got a very small group together and we just created something. And it was sort of like a walking simulator where you just went from left to right as you do in Elegy, but there was no writing. And these dream teams are great because you just put them together. And if the prototype is something that it doesn't work out, or if it's not something that you want to pursue, that's great. You just split up and maybe later on you come together. But what was great about Elegy was that it, the original idea was something that I put out there, but the end result was a result of all of the people who worked on it, right? So Zyba said, you know what, you wanted to make this thing about exploring these long dead civilizations. I think British Romance era poetry fits into that. I'm like, wow, what does that mean? All right, that's, and then we reread some and we walked the streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, and it was perfect. And then Luigi, the artist, said, the Romance era painters were also really good. JMW Turner did these amazing, huge landscapes where the people were really small and insignificant by comparison. And that's perfect because here's the world, you're going to die, or, your civilization is going to die. And here's you as a little tiny part. So everybody sort of puts in their little bit, and hopefully by the end of it, we get something that is much greater than what we had initially.
Yeah, and it's one of the benefits, I guess, of working with a sort of smaller studio. That's the same thing I've heard I've done a number of these interviews now, and I've talked to folks from Almost Human, the Legend of Grimrock guys. I've talked to Stoic Studios, the Banner Saga guys, who originally came from BioWare, obviously, and then came out. And all of them have said some variation on the same theme, which is that having a smaller studio that allows you to be able to work through these ideas and not then have to clear it through, marketing, six other iterations and levels,
Yeah.
means that they can have these things. Because this game that we're about to play, that we're about to show all of you in chat, is not a game that I see a large company making for that very reason, because they'd all say, where does it fit? Who do we market to? Where does it go? But it's a game that does seem to me to have, that it can actually have commercial monetary value also, if you can figure out how to do it. But you never get to that, discussion, it seems to me, at some of these larger places, because there's so many levels between you and the person that you need to speak to. So it sounds like you guys have got sort of a creative crucible where all this stuff is kind of going on all the time.
I think we have a good balance. Independent developers and hobbyists sometimes tend to go too much in the opposite direction of too much bureaucracy. Because, okay, you have this multi-million-dollar budget for a title. You're not going to experiment too much on that one. But if you are a hobbyist or a small indie developer, you'll often say, I just want to make this game, and I'm just making it because I want to make it. Well, the problem with that, I think, is sometimes that you just make it and you don't put it out there enough for people to look at it and bash on it and to make it stronger, because a game really should be broken up and bashed on. And, it's sort of like Don Quixote and his impossible dream.
Sure.
The game needs to be battered. And once you take the pieces, you build them up and it's something much stronger than that. So ideally, hopefully, a middle ground between the two extremes.
Mm-hmm. And you guys did some of that actually with this game, with releasing it in a sort of, I don't know if you'd call it an early, or just sort of released it in beta to people. But I mean, I know you had a lot of active participation before the game was actually officially out, right, with the community?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we started showing it off at PAX and E3 and, Indiecade within E3 and so forth and so on. So we got players in on that. And then we started putting, we distributed keys to fans and people who wrote. And then we did a Kickstarter a couple of months ago. And that was a successful thing. And as part of that, we did an early access, not Steam early access, but everybody got their beta keys early.
Right.
And so they churned on and they said, I like this, I don't like this. And that led up to our launch, where we were able to say with some confidence, people are liking this. Here's what the journalists are writing. We know that we have something solid on our hands.
Mm-hmm. And you can kind of build off of that. All right, one last question before we actually get into some of the gameplay. In chat, I am speaking to Ichiro Lambe from Dejobaan Games about Elegy for a Dead World. You will get an opportunity in a little bit to ask questions as well, so think about that. And also, I believe, although I don't want to put him on the spot, but I believe we may even have a giveaway of this game. Maybe we might
I think we can do that.
We may be able to give away a game.
I know
or two.
a guy.
You know a guy who knows a guy. So I think we have access to that. And I also want to thank you for giving me a key, actually, to this, which I didn't expect, but I appreciate it. So it gives us a chance to check this out. So last thing I want to ask then, before we get into this, is about the Kickstarter process, because that, too, is something which is becoming a commonality. Again, that's what happened with Stoic. They, kickstarted their game. Harebrained Schemes did it, and the biggest buzz that I'm sure you're aware of is that they just released the Shadowrun logo, indicating that they are going to be going back into the Kickstarter mode again. So can you talk briefly about, because you obviously have to have the financials in your mind also, what's sort of involved in your mind about, this is a game I go through Kickstarter with, this is a game I don't?
Sure. I will be really blunt about this. I love Valve. I love Steam. The people who work at Valve are amazing, and the people on the Steam team are amazing. The fact that they have done so much for the indie community it heartens me. And the fact that they're opening it up, so, whereas there used to be a few indie titles on, released every month, and now there are many, many indie titles released every month. I think that's really good for gamers. I really think it's good for game developers. But it also means that it is a much more competitive market now than it was, I don't know, even a year or two ago. So Kickstarter, I think, is a great way for us to say, listen, it's not all just a gamble on our launching and expecting, is Steam going to be the exact right audience for us? Because, for a writing game, who even knew if it was going to do well? And, maybe everybody wants to play first-person shooters. We had the same
No,
thought.
not true.
Not true. Well, we're still waiting on to figure out what our first month sales are gonna
Right,
look like.
right.
Obviously, having just launched it, but I'll give you a similar story. A couple of years ago, we launched a visual novel called Monster Loves You,
Hmm.
and we said this is never gonna make any money on Steam. I mean, who the hell is? And it was our best launch to date,
Yeah.
and there was this just that audience waiting for it. But what if that audience hadn't been there? Well, for Elegy for a Dead World, we said, why don't we also do a Kickstarter, right? Because there's the Steam launch, there's a Kickstarter. Are there other ways of gaining revenue? And I think as independent developers, we really need to think along those lines.
Hmm. Did and how do I put this without? Has there been a game that you guys launched that you thought there will be an audience and there was not an audience? I mean, has that at some point, or did you do enough sort of legwork where that hasn't happened to you to that degree?
It, I gotta say, it's always the weirdest ways that we find the audience.
Okay.
For example, okay, I mean, Monster Loves You, the visual novel, we figured it was going to do really well on mobile and just bomb on Steam. And we're okay with the mobile launch, but it did really, really well on Steam.
Hmm.
So, like, what the heck was that all about? I mean, it's really confusing to
Yeah, yeah,
me.
yeah.
And, oftentimes a game, uh, I mean, let's take Awe, for example. Awe did well on launch. And, we launched it on our own site and then it did okay. And then we launched it on Steam and it did much better. And then suddenly I get a call from Valve that says, hey, we have this thing that's going on. It's called the Portal 2 alternate reality game. And we want to put GLaDOS into your games. Do you think you'd be interested in whoa, all right, how's that for publicity?
Yeah.
So it's the strangest places in the strangest ways that you generate revenue for a game, and you just got to try all of them.
Which means agility is critically important to be able to take advantage of them, right, when you get that chance.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Is this only now? This is released on Steam. Is this also going to be available on like Xbox or 360? I mean, is there a chance we're going to? I'm thinking of them because of the independent connections, or not. I mean, and also mobile platforms too. While I'm thinking about it.
Well, we are talking to Apple about it, and we are talking to the console holders,
Okay.
platform holders, without being too specific on which.
Okay.
So it is a possibility. We haven't announced anything yet, but I think it would be really cool.
Okay.
Maybe the input method is going to be a little different on those.
Yeah, I would imagine Android, please, maybe.
Okay, well, if we do it on mobile, we would do it on both iOS and Android.
You would, okay.
But
All
I
right.
can't. Zybo, our lead programmer would be responsible for that. So I can't promise anything yet.
I think since he's not here, you should promise everything and commit
I
to
think
everything.
we're gonna put. What was the first computer you owned?
Yes, I was gonna say. I had a TRS-80, 1980.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Really?
yeah.
I never. I had my first computer was a TI 99 4A. It's gonna be on both of those.
That's fine. Cartridge model is fine. If he wants to put it on cassette tape, that would be great.
Yeah,
I could do
I
that.
think that works.
Nice. All right. Well, let me switch over to the actual game itself, and let's actually get a chance to see and hear it, and then we can talk a little bit about it. And let's see. I will need to make some adjustments in the volume because I want this music playing, but I don't want it to be too loud. Okay, it should be good. All right, and I'm going to move you folks over, so bear with me for just a moment.
I see your viewers are totally old school. Tandy C64, TI 99 4A.
Oh yeah. No, my viewers are very wide-ranging
Nice.
in interests and everything else. So that's so this is definitely a part of it also. Okay, let me just bear with me for a second. And actually, while I'm getting this set up, and I apologize because I know I specifically saw you answer this question previously in another interview, but I'm going to beg your forgiveness and ask you to do it again and tell me, give the viewers who have not heard about this, basically what this game is about and what's involved with it.
Sure. Elegy for a Dead World is a game in which you explore long dead civilizations based on the works of British Romance era poets, and you write about it. So you adopt the roles of 27 different personas on 3 different worlds, and you write as though you are them. So, for instance, you might be a traveler exploring a world based on Percy Shelley's Ozymandias poem, and you talk about what's happening, or how did this world die? Who lived there? You might adopt the role of the emperor of one of the worlds giving his last decree, or you might adopt the role of a young girl whose family is being evacuated from a city as bombs fall on it. And your objective really is to just write a story based on what you see and share those stories with other players.
Yeah, which, I think chat, as you can already hear, like just the premise alone, I was just, yep, I was in. I was like, yep, I'm in. I totally agree. Now, and I'm assuming that the game itself, plus the music and the art and everything else. And as I start moving through the world here, maybe you can talk a little bit about the art too. Who was responsible? You had one guy who did the art, or one person who was responsible for it, and maybe talk a little bit about that. I guess this is the guy who was talking about the romantic paintings you were saying, right?
So we started out as a 1 week prototype, and we had two artists, Jonathan Elliott, who's done art on a number of our games, and then Luigi Guattieri, who is on the Pop Cannibal side. They're both great artists. Luigi stayed on to finish out the game over the course of the subsequent year plus a few months, and he looks at art like no other person that I know. I mean, he is a he well, all the artists I work with are thoughtful, but he in particular sat there and he thought, you know what? It is the end of the world. You guys are doing British Romance era poetry. It's bleak. It should be, man is insignificant. And if you look at JMW Turner's paintings, you see these enormous landscapes and, this ocean and this like rain and clouds and all of these things raining down. And then you see these little people down in the corner of the corner of the painting. I almost said screen. And they are nothing compared to the grandeur and the power of nature.
And so, yeah, and then that's what we actually got. Start writing. Okay, so let's see. So we got into this one. Have I mentioned to Ichiro that I'm an author and English professor? Yes, I mentioned it in the initial email that I sent to them.
Yep.
So, yeah, don't worry about the English professor part. The writer part is one that I was interested in this. So, okay, so I open a portal here. I've got start writing, your stories, commendations, read, and cancel. So start writing, I assume, is how you actually enter the world and begin? Is that... Okay. And, all right, well, then I'm going to do it. Choose a writing prompt. Okay, so explain to me a little bit about this part, about the prompts.
Okay, so when we first started writing the game, we gave you no prompts. We gave you the entire level, and you could write wherever we wanted. Where I think authors and English professors really knew what to do with that, and people who didn't write were mortified because, oh my God, you just gave me a blank slate.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do was to give you a little bit of help. So if you take a look at, I think. Proud History of a Dead World is an example where you've discovered a long dead civilization, and it's up to you to sort of figure out who they were and what they were doing. This one is sort of, I don't know, it's a training wheels prompt, if you will.
I see. All right. Well, let's go with the training wheels then. All right. And then we're walking along, and then when we come to, okay, press tab to write. 50,000 years ago, this was home to... Okay, and now are you limited about how many characters you can write in, or?
I think, I don't know. You could probably write an entire novel in each one of those. We haven't hit character limit yet.
Okay. See, Dead Civilization of Explorers. I actually spelled that right. All right, 50,000 years ago, is home to a dead civilization of explorers who arrogance outstripped their understanding. Okay.
Nice.
And then...
Wait a second. I think of course, that this is Shelley, Percy Shelley's world. Ozymandias being the poem where the poet says, "Hey, I came across all of this great stuff, and it's half buried in the sand, and I find this plaque, and it says, 'I'm Ozymandias, I'm awesome,' and Ozymandias is dead, and his kingdom's So, you know your poetry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's and Shelley is, of course, Shelley is great. Do you? Oh, I was just about to ask how you go up. Now I know. And that is it. Now, and the interesting thing about this as well is that you don't have to do every writing prompt, right? You could theoretically do 1, 0, all of them, right? I mean, it's up to you as to how many that you do, right?
And you can also, in I mean, you could delete all in any text. So, we have the blanks up there.
Right. Okay.
You don't have to write in the blanks. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. You can change all the words.
Okay. Let's see. They covered their planet. Let's see. Inventions. Let's see. Cover their planet with the symbols of their pride. Great inventions, spectacular monuments, and extraordinary works of art. Okay. Puts bubble pipe in mouth. Exactly, Glob.
Puts on my writer's habit. You know what? Gregory, this is the first time I've actually watched somebody play, because anytime we've had somebody play test it, I have very conspicuously left the room because I didn't want to stare over anybody's shoulder.
Oh, so now you're... Well, I mean, hopefully it's okay, though, because if I like the fact that you're staring at all of our shoulders at this point. And I'm going to have a chance to ask questions at the same time. In fact, let me ask one about the music. So, obviously, atmospheric music is critical for a game like this to work. So, can you talk about the process of how the music was created for this game, and how you sort of set the atmosphere for that also?
Sure. Well, the theme is dead worlds, loss. It's sort of a haunting, lonely kind of thing. And there are a bunch of ways you can do this, right? You could write an orchestral track, or whatever genre of music you want, and it can sound sad. What we found was that minimalist was best, because if you listen to a piece of music for a couple of minutes, that's great, but it often takes 30 minutes to finish a particular level in this game. And if you're listening to something for 30 minutes, I don't care what it is, and you repeat this 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 times per world, you're going to get bored of it. So we eventually happened on something that was present but not overbearing, and I think that worked out well. So you should be I can't hear them on my end right now as I have that muted, so I can hear you, but
Right.
You should be hearing a drone. But we also wanted to use the audio in a subtle way with diegetic sound, such that if you passed something, a tower or something important, the music would change very, very slightly, and you'd get louder drones, or the sound of what does electricity sound like, what does light sound like. But ultimately, we just wanted to keep that light and in the background, so it didn't annoy the crap out of you.
Right. But still, though, I mean, is immersive and has that sort of presence. Did the artist and the musician work together, by the way, at all? I mean, were they sort of did one present something to the other and create inspiration, or was it totally on separate paths?
We do a lot of iterative stuff, so whatever we do bounces off of whatever everybody else does. So I did the audio for this game, and we it started with Zyba and me sitting down with pen and paper and just scrawling out in a really ugly fashion the art for the game. Luigi and Jonathan took that and created the first blush, and then Luigi took this and did the second blush of that, and then I went in and I'm like, what should this sound like? And then Luigi listens to that, and I'm not sure how much that influenced the art, but you see a bunch of broad brush strokes. It's very, I think it's a very painterly style, and therefore I said, shouldn't the music also flow into itself? So I guess the key word there is iteration.
Iteration, yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. I've been trying to write and talk at the same time. Towering buildings soared overhead, their spires and roofs reaching to the heavens to touch whoever or whatever waited for them there.
I love it.
Let's see. All right. There we go. What about the main, the character, your sort of silent space figure? Did that, because I mean, you said that initially this started as kind of a walking simulator type of thing. So did you have an image of what you wanted the character to be? A space explorer for sure, but what they were going to look like? Or, wow, music just got real. The intensity of the sound. But yeah, talk about that main character.
She originally started as a character named the Scavenger, and the objective of the game really was you would walk across the landscape as you're doing now, read a bunch of text, and discover a bunch of things, and maybe hit a button to pick them up. So you were essentially going through and stealing bits of the world. And we said, you know, when you're writing, it is actually not that. You're not a scavenger anymore. But, you know, so throughout that, when we added the concept of writing, we realized, okay, well, this is really about you, the writer. This is about you, and therefore the main character needed to be sort of a cipher for that. So we stuck her in a spacesuit. You can't see her face, and you know she doesn't really have a name. You know, outside of our own calling her the Traveler, if you will. So at this point, she can be whoever you want it to be. You know, is it you? Is it somebody you know? Is it somebody exploring? Is it, I don't know, Julia Child?
Interesting. And did you ever have an image of her having the ability to interact, you know, puzzles, God forbid, shooter? Did you ever have an idea of like any other aspect other than her being able to simply write as an interactivity with the environment?
Absolutely. I mean, when we were thinking about the game from the first through the first week, we said, you know, this is great. It's a walking simulator. There really needs to be more. And I guess at some point during that week, I pitched the idea back when we needed to do this with you know, they've opened Steam up a lot more now, but it used to be that if you had games on Steam and you wanted to publish a game on Steam, you'd have to submit it, and then you'd have to say, hey, here's why I think that this is going to be great on your platform. And so about 3/4 of the week, I think we had a few drinks, and I said, you know what, I'm going to submit this to the Steam team and see if we can get this as a game. And this was like 4 days into the development.
And they were like, what? Right?
Yeah.
Not Steam, I mean your people. We're like,
well, yeah, everybody, well, yes. But we sent it over to Steam, and, you know, we added a bunch of games on the platform. So they said, you know, we trust you. Go ahead, make the game. We'll put it up. And I'm like, oh, shit, now we really need to make this substantial. And we worked through a number of mechanics. We said, do we want this to be about uncovering things where you open something up and you discover it, and therefore you get this code to open this other thing up? And we're like, you know, that doesn't really work, because how many games have you done that with? It's kind of boring, and I don't think anybody seriously suggested shooter at any point, even though I'm a fan. Our previous game, Drunken Robot Pornography, was nothing but bullet hell shooter. So we went through very lightly a raft of mechanics in our heads, but the concept of writing came pretty early on, because we sat down at the kitchen table of the Indie Game Collective co-working space. We had our drawings out of the game, and we sat another game developer down. We said, what do you think is happening in this story? And we had modeled it off of, I think that one was, again, Ozymandias. And the developer sat down and he told his entire story, his own story, that was logically consistent with what was down on paper and nothing like what we had in mind. And therefore we said, you know, wouldn't it be great if the core mechanic were people telling their own stories? So that came early.
I see. Okay. And I see also I've just entered the first sort of internal environment here, to be able to actually enter, where you get a sort of closer up picture of the interior design of the towers and things of that kind. And I can see, I mean, I'm writing myself fairly minimalistically, because I want to be not writing a novel at the moment. I'm focusing on the interview. But I can see that the prompts are sort of leading people in a particular direction from which they can either break or which they can stay with. And I'm curious, in your experience, have you found many of the people sort of going along with what the prompts sort of are leading them to, breaking from it entirely? I mean, I'm sure that there's many who have done both, but is there sort of like a 60-40 split, like most people go with what the prompts suggest, or have you been surprised at the sort of level of, I don't know, resistance, put it that way, to the...
Well, I think the way we've tried to create the prompts is to guide the player for the first half of it or the first third of it, and then to open it up a little more towards the end. I think I wasn't confident enough in my own writing to do that fully, and therefore this set of prompts is very, the first one especially is very, we're showing you a road. And a lot of people, especially halfway through a set of prompts, have their own ideas for what's happening in their story. And I think that's absolutely great. And that's why we made it possible for people to delete everything and write whatever they want. In later challenges, I think one of the great things that we were able to do was to do what I call writing puzzles. And, as a writer, I'm sure you know that it is possible to write yourself into a corner, and part of the fun of that is having to write yourself out of a corner.
Yes.
So I'll do a little tiny spoiler here, and in one of the prompt sets, you're going through and you're talking about how beautiful the world is, and you're coming up with this explanation of what the people used to be like and what the society was like and the art they produced. And then halfway through it, or 3/4 of the way through it, the prompt says, "I did this." And so it turns out that you were actually the person that caused this. And for the rest of it, the prompts sort of guide you to explain your rationale for having destroyed the civilization and reconcile all of that with your thoughts about how it was beautiful and so forth and so on. So we tried to do a little bit for everyone. For people who just want to write free form, there's the completely blank slate. For people who aren't confident writers, perhaps, although I believe everybody can create, there are the prompts that are sort of like, talk about this, talk about the people, talk about the towers. And then for people who sort of want a writing challenge, we say, let's walk down this path, and we're gonna fuck everything up for you halfway through.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you're right that it does. And I mean, again, so the educational, possibilities are off the chart there as well. Being able to sort of roll with the punches. Did you guys? I mean, you must have been aware, I assume, as you're making this, how potentially educational this could be, right? I mean, you had to know at a certain point that this was going to be just gold for some teachers out there who could kind of imaginatively use it for their classrooms, right? I mean, were you aware of that, or is that something that after the fact you said, "Oh, hey, how about that? This game works for that also"?
That's absolutely something that occurred organically. Zyba's mother is a retired English prof, so I'm sure that was always...
That's your first problem. That was your first problem right there. That's first problem.
Well, right. But I think... how do I say this in a nice way? I think educational games that suck oftentimes think about it as, let's make this education and then gamify it.
Yep.
Whereas the ones that do it really well think about it as a game first. It needs to be enjoyable. It needs to be a game. It needs to be an educational game. And we thought about it that way first. And as we talked to teachers, educators, academics, when we put it out at PAX East, PAX Prime, what have you, we were able to nail down how Elegy could be used in the educational environment. So that started happening about halfway through development, when we put it out to educators and said, guys, what do we need to do with this? And we started giving out free keys to them, I think shortly after the Kickstarter ended. So it's something that we had in the backs of our minds, but we had no idea how much educators would really like this, and it turns out that the response has been really nice.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be really, really cool stuff. I'm already excited about potential stuff for the what the chat would be. let alone what could be done in classrooms for sure. Just by way of quick reminder for those of you who came in a little bit later on, I am speaking to Ichiro Lambe, who is the founder of Dejobaan Games and is one of the developers for Elegy for Dead World and the guy who came up with the idea, so I'll give him more of a prop even for that. And we are playing through it. I've got 9 out of 14 prompts done. And then at the end of this, I think we'll even be able to give a key away to you guys as well. So keep that in mind. I'll give you folks a chance to ask him a question in just a moment. Before I do that, let me ask one more question, though, which is about, was there a lot of wrangling over how many prompts to do at a time? We need 100 prompts. We need 5. We need, and sort of how did you guys work out those debates among yourselves?
Mm-hmm. First of all, let me give you massive kudos for being able to create a story and conduct an interview at the same time. This is
Thanks,
pretty impressive. Next up, Gregory will be on a unicycle typing using the Dvorak keyboard.
That's when it all collapses at that point. Literally, in other words.
How do you determine how big your game is? I think for Elegy in particular, what we wanted to do was create an environment that covered all of our bases. We wanted to do a very, a starting world, if you will, which is what you're playing now, that has a lot of guidance. So there's a lot of text, and then there are small blanks, and we wanted to create. So that's one for each of the worlds, and then we wanted to create a freeform thing where you didn't have any guidance at all. That's 2. And then we wanted to do a couple of interesting things. I described the sort of writerly challenge where we toss a wrench in the monkey works. Monkey wrench in the works? Mm-hmm. Something about a sabot.
If you put a wrench in the monkey works, bad things happen for sure.
Yes. Well, so we wanted something, and so we went down our list, and I'm like, I would really love one for each of the poems because we have 3 worlds, and we have a Shelley poem, a Keats poem, a Byron poem. Let's allow the player to create something based on those. And so we had our list of things that we wanted to try. I'll give you another example. I am not an educator, so this was sort of something I'm just trying out right now. There is a grammar prompt for educators.
I saw that, yeah. So what is that?
You know how people don't get there, and there correctly, and it's and fewer and
yes, I'm finishing up end of semester grading. I know it very well.
There you go. We posed the question: can Elegy be a way for you to become an editor? So one of the prompts for each of the worlds is a grammar prompt where there's an entire story written out very simply, but the grammar is atrocious. And so you have to go through and correct it. And, essentially we decided here are all the things that we wanted to do. We can always add more after the game launches if there's a need for it, but here's our bare minimum. And does that give us enough gameplay? And we've had people play each prompt for half an hour or however long they want to take on it, and multiply that by 27 prompts. And I think we have enough. I think we had enough good base content to launch the game.
Sorry, I just stopped for a moment because I was maneuvering myself around. So you had enough base content to be able to launch it. Yeah. Now that actually raises the question. DLCs. Expansions, like what would you imagine for something like this, if that's even possible? And also, am I missing? I'm in the little small hut. You'll see that in a moment. Is there a writing prompt that I'm missing here, or no?
So some of these contain writing prompts in certain roles, and some don't.
Okay.
So the first hut is, I guess I didn't put one in this particular level, but it's gonna, for other prompts you might. You come across the bowl and what does it mean, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, that's cool. And by the way, how do you choose the different roles? Because I don't know if I noticed that. I just flew along and I saw the sun and I went inside. Is there... Yeah.
It's actually the writing prompt. So you did. I think you picked the first writing prompt of the first world.
That changes your role. Oh,
right.
Okay.
So you'll see last address from an emperor, diary of a young girl, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, I got you. Oh, really neat. Really, really cool. Yeah, no, all of a sudden, I just found the sit-down key, and they're like, a sit-down key! Amazing. Let's see. I don't actually remember what I asked you before that.
You were asking me about DLC and post-launch.
Oh, yes, about DLC. Yes, and expansions and the like, yeah.
If people like what they're seeing, then absolutely will give them more. I mean, creating a prompt is an interesting exercise, and what I want, but cannot promise, because again, this is on Zyba, and it depends on development schedules and so forth. But wouldn't it be neat if the other players could create prompts? So if you could create a prompt based on, I don't know, name your literary work or your historical figure or whatever you wanted, and submit that just the same as you would a story, and then have other players create into that. We did that as a stretch goal for our Kickstarter, and we hit 150% of our Kickstarter goal, which was really great. And that got a bunch of, as part of our stretch goals for that, we've got a bunch of educational keys out to academics. I think one of our next goals, if not our next goal, would have been the ability to create prompt sets and share them. But we didn't quite hit that. So
Okay.
possibly something for the future.
Okay. Maybe run by another Kickstarter, or that's not necessary, or you think you guys would handle that on your own? Maybe that
Who
depends on the
knows?
first month sales, maybe.
I mean, it could depend on a bunch of things. Like if it's something that people just really, if it's something that we just want, and my gosh, this is getting such great feedback, we gotta do it. Or if we're porting it to another platform, for instance, we might just build it in as part of that, and then who knows?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like the idea that it's possible. Walking plus sitting simulator, yes. Sit down key, 10 out of 10 we'll buy for sure.
Sweet.
That was the key. Glog wants to. Okay, so now let me start. Let me give Chat a chance to ask questions. So, Chat, this is your chance. If you would like to ask some questions, then please type in capital letters question and then colon and then whatever you actually want the question to be. So just say question colon and then whatever the question is that you'd like. Thank you, Fallen. Please do that, and then I will relay those questions to Ichiro as I figure out what I want to say here. Of all the lessons they could have learned.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm keeping one eye on the chat just so
Okay.
that if people can catch me out on saying like, oh yeah, Ozymandias by Edgar Allan Poe. I don't think that's right, but I am keeping one eye on the chat.
Yes, yes. So let's see what they say with the questions that we've got. Glob says, bought and installed this game now, so you got a sale already. Can't wait to get started,
Sweet.
except I want to watch this interview. Lord Slav.
I
After
love
the
it.
civilization fell, the only thing that remained is a giant guitar pick. That is a little bit of a
We
different feel.
we used to think that they were T-bone steaks.
Yeah, T-bone steaks. Yeah, see, I can totally see that. Question: Samuel Taylor Coleridge, poet. No, this is Blake, Shelley, and Keats, right? Are the
Yes,
three?
that's
Okay.
correct.
I see what the question is. I think though, could you add a world with Coleridge? He
Yeah,
fits
I
the
mean,
other descriptions, or Wordsworth for that matter.
I have a level in awe called "I wandered lonely as a cloud and I hate Williams Wordsworth." So I would stay away from Wordsworth. He was. I mean, I didn't love the poem, but he's fine. Yeah, why not?
Um, all right, so that's a possibility, Abni, is what I would say to that. And I think I saw a question up here from Glog. Can you review what you've written at any time in the game? That's a good question.
You can go and when you're out of the editing mode, you can hit Q and E to go back and forth between the little white feathers. So yes.
Okay, so you can do that. Let's see. All right, that's a good one. Let's throw those questions out, guys, if you have them. As I'm thinking of how to finish up this sentence.
Of all the lessons they could have learned, the one they needed most was the one that was all around.
Let's see.
This is sort of like yeah, I can't imagine writing and interviewing at the same time. I can tie my shoe and chew bubble gum.
Let's see. 13 out of 14, and I think I keep sitting down by accident. Of all the lessons they could have learned, the one they needed the most was how to turn stone into meat. Very nice, Apples. Glob says, question: other than prompts, do you think you might allow for entire user-created worlds to create a dead galaxy or even dead universe?
Yeah, I think what imagine if we were to take this into its logical extreme. What I would love to be able to do, and this is hugely ambitious, is to create an entire sort of a kit, right? To be able to create your own dead civilizations, and not just your own stories, but your own prompts and your own clues and your own visuals and so forth. It is, I mean, it's something that's on our mind. My gosh, I don't know exactly how to do it, but if the game, if the game blows up, then we'll absolutely consider that.
Have you heard of a game called the Story Project? Storium, I think is the name of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't even. Rohit may have chatted with them for advice before we went live on our Kickstarter, but
Okay,
yes.
yeah. I was on a panel with the guy who did Storium.
Oh, no kidding.
And for those of you who don't know in chat, Storium is this story creating universe that made this absolute fortune, I think, on Kickstarter, and has done a bunch of stuff since then. But that's sort of what you're talking about, except that they don't involve I mean, it's all story, it's all text, it's all, whereas this is obviously sort of going for something different, including art and music and so on. But it just reminds me a little bit of that in its ambition. Let's see. Smacky Butts asks, question. I'm almost surely going to write the greatest story of all time in this. You're going to shake me down for royalties. I wouldn't blame you, but I'd still be mad.
I think, and don't quote me on this because I haven't done this yet. We haven't come out with anything yet. But if we can, what I would love to be able to allow people to do is to take everything and wrap it up. And so long as they can even take our artwork, and as long as they don't try to sell our artwork, how would this work? You can distribute it however you like. I don't know. We'll have to figure this out. But
Yeah,
if you want, I mean, your story's yours.
So you keep it right. I guess the question is whether you guys maintain the rights over it to do it as other than as part of the other game, which is interesting actually.
All you guys give us is the permission to show it to other players. I think Steam Workshop rules apply, so that you own your stuff.
Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's actually go up here and get rid of that comma. Okay, Doc Jekyll asks, non-question question. Okay. So I used to be a teacher, now web developer, and I have lots of teacher friends. I'm interested in sharing this with them, but I'm not sure how to explain it to them. Only maybe one or two would actually have heard of Steam before. Before I give Ichiro a chance to answer that, let me just say there's this gentleman called Arvin Eleron who runs this Twitch channel that has highlights of interviews with people, and perhaps this interview might be a good place to get them started. Okay, now with that shameless plug for off, I'll let Ichiro take a stab at that.
Sure. Okay, so I have two good things to say. You should get your teacher friends in touch with us, because we, thanks to the Kickstarter stretch goal, have a bunch of keys set aside for free keys for academic institutions. So if your teachers' friends want to use Elegy to teach in a classroom, we're willing to give 25 keys per academic institution for free. And so the second thing is, if you look at the video, I think that sort of explains the overarching, the overarching brain. Gregory's the one that's doing the interview, and he's talking, and he's typing, and I can't even chew bubblegum and talk at the same time. It basically, you go through a game and you walk across and you get a bunch of prompts and you write a little story, and then you share those with your friends and colleagues and so forth. It's really as simple as that.
Okay. All right, very, very cool. Before I ask the next question, I'm just previewing this before I title it and publish it, I guess. So let's see. 50,000 years ago, this was home to a dead civilization of explorers whose arrogance outstripped their understanding. They covered their planets with the symbols of their pride, great inventions, spectacular monuments, and extraordinary works of art. Other worlds marveled at what they saw, and visitors envied the planet's inhabitants. There was nothing they could not sing, dance, play, or make, nothing that is but a way to their own salvation. For millennia, their cultural power and reach was unmatched. Towering buildings soared overhead, their spires and roofs reaching to the heavens to touch whoever or whatever waited for them there. The heart of their civilization was the sonorous stone, a stunning creation of energy and will. Everything in, under, or over the world was powered by it. Children sang of this. Elders taught them the songs and spoke of their world's history as inevitable, ever rising, ever growing, until the universe itself would sing with their society's songs. In dark corners and private rooms, however, some began to wonder how long a society which cared only for itself and its own glory could last. They were whisperers, furtive glances, but no less powerful for that. The largest calamity began with the quietest sounds. But like anything that grows and lives, after thousands of years, fault lines appear. But cracks in the physical walls were nothing compared... appeared. Good gravy. I demand an edit.
We need an editor.
I need
Sorry.
an editor right now. Let's see. Appeared. Not appear. Bad says to me. All right. And then how do I get back to the preview? Do I just like race back then, or?
Yeah.
Or is it, oh, I see it. I see it. Prompt. I see how. Yeah. I go to the prompt. All right. Let me go make that edit. All right. So where was I? Blah 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 blah. Appeared. Yes. Appeared, but cracks in the physical walls were nothing compared to the cracks in the walls of certainty the world's citizens had erected around their own fears. There was a fall. The same people who had stood upon the parapets of their civilization's glory were those who fell the fastest and the farthest, weighed down by the rage at their own impotence. But nature never listened any more than the people had listened to nature. An echo thousands of years later, they built shadows, phantoms of what had been. They were neither grand nor ambitious. They were neither large nor likely to be noticed by anyone other than themselves. That, of course, was the whole point. Of all the lessons they could have learned, the one they needed the most was the one that was all around them, the failure of their grandparents, their great-grandparents, the ones who had taught them to sing. And in the end, despite the glory, despite its destruction, their legacy was assured. People who wrote, sang, danced, and made for themselves and their children. It was a legacy more powerful than any fortress their ancestors had ever built. All right, so... That's what I can do when I'm also interviewing, so I was trying.
That's what I love about this game, and thank you for sharing that, because I have, like I said, I've never been over somebody's shoulder while they were composing, but the great thing about this is that everybody's going to tell a slightly different story, and now, if and when you publish it, somebody is going to read that and love it and commend it and, share it with other people.
Let's see. All right, let me... The Fall of the World, as told by Marvin Oleron. Okay. Done. And then now, let's see. So publish now. Thank you, Fallen. Thank you, Shadow. Thank you, Eric. Publish now. All right. Now. Oh, okay. Acceptance required to publish items. Right. Okay, so this is being published at the Steam Workshop.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. This is the first time I've ever done this, really, Steam. I find that hard to believe that I've never agreed to anything you told me to do before.
It's actually, so it's like, it's mostly for modding. We're using their modding system in a way that they had not expected. And we ran into a bug in this on first day because of that. We break Steam all of the time, I want to say. And so they had to tweak a few things to get that running, but you're essentially doing a mod.
Okay, so I clicked on Get Your Game on Steam. Did I do this right? I think I may have accidentally voted on something when I didn't mean to.
No.
How do I... Let me see. I don't think Get Your Game on Steam is right. I'm looking at what I thought was the subscriber agreement, which I thought I was supposed to agree to, but I don't actually see where that is. Do you normally just... Is it just you click through when you publish now, it brings you into this, and then...
You should. So Steam asks you to agree to it once. I'm actually not seeing that on the Twitch window. I'm not sure if anybody else is.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It wouldn't be on there. Let me just do this. Accept. Okay, I think I got it right. All right, you've accepted that. Okay, so now that that's done, it should be posted then. How would I go to find out? Let's see.
You can read. Your
I see it. I see it. I see it now. So it's in Arvin Eleron's workshop, and it says, and then how do people then access these stories? Like, how do I, like, are they able to access it from within the game or only on Steam, or how?
Right. So right now we're trying something where we do a couple of things. When you finish writing something, or even when you just want to go in and read something, the game gives you a story, and it could be one of the one of the trending stories or one of the most popular stories, or it might be a story that's simply been written recently. And we just, I guess we're trying a couple of things now. So maybe folks who play the game let us know how this works, and if it works. But we just wanted to toss any one of those three choices at you, and you go through and you read it and you rate it.
I see. Okay. All right. That's back. Okay. Exit to portals. And there we are. Okay. And all the portals are here on this mate, right? So you've got one down there. I see there's a second one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a third one down here. Yes, probably a little bit later on, guys. I'll let chat sort of take a shot at this. I also do a thing sometimes with chat where we will play one of the old Fighting Fantasy game book series where they'll actually have a chance to make decisions for the character and sort of play collectively. So that's a story. I can click on it. Oh, the item is either marked as hidden or you do not have permission to view it. Okay. I will try to think about how to do that. How to sort of make that possible. Well, this is really amazing stuff. Now, how do I get these achievements? Because as we all know, the most important thing in the world is achievements. Do I have to do every prompt in a world, or how does it work?
I don't want to say the wrong things. I've tweaked that at the last minute. So if I'm not going to tell you, it's not because I want to, don't want you to know, but because I want to make sure that I don't tell you the wrong thing.
I see. Okay. Alrighty. Well, let's see. So I'll move them up there. Okay. Good. All right. Well, let's see. There were some other questions that were being asked while I was finishing up the story. So I'll throw a couple of those at you, and then we'll give away the game, and I can let you go. And I really appreciate you sticking on with us.
Sure.
Let's see. Can you watch other people's stories, like in a book, 365 Dark Worlds bedtime stories? That's true. Did you think about the possibility of having, not just reading the story, but watching people go through the world and sort of decide what to write? I mean, I would think that would be interesting also, almost like just a replay of the world that they did.
Sure. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that we can do there. I think for actually watching somebody write a story, there exist utilities to do that. Like here, you're broadcasting over to Twitch. You can do,
yes.
You can record it for YouTube. The great thing again about being a small studio is that we're going to watch what people do, and if people like to share stories in that way, that's absolutely a possibility to bring in game. But we originally had it so that you walked through the world and saw the text pop up as you yourself explored it, and we found that sort of detracted from the final experience. I mean, I wanted the story, or we wanted the experience of reading the story to be about your story, and that's why we went with the sort of semi-graphic novel format that you saw.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I just found how to read the other stuff. 2,000 years ago, this was home to a proud race of cat-like people, the cattish. Very different kind of thing than what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I'm actually looking forward to reading some of those. Let's see. Messiah asks, question, does the game include the soundtrack? Will it be released? So separately, I guess.
Yep, we have included the soundtrack as an add-on. What do you call it? As one of the tiers for the original Kickstarter.
Okay.
So, if you could buy the game for pledging a certain amount, and then we did a higher tier for the soundtrack. I think it's possible that come March, which is when we originally announced the game to be launched in March. We launched it several months early, in part because the Kickstarter did so well.
It's got to be the most stunning thing ever, by the way.
I know,
right? Game early is unheard
I know.
of.
But it's possible that at that time we will do a sort of a packaged thing with the soundtrack. I'm not sure.
Okay, the Game of the Year edition, as it were.
Yeah, there you go.
So TV asks, how big of a team worked on this project? Did the team expand as time went on? And if you required services from other lines of expertise, how long did it take for it to go from a thought into a complete product you were happy with?
Sure. It started as a week's prototype with about 5 or 6 people. If you count Rohit, who's more of our biz dev guy, was doing sort of biz devery for it, which is not a big prototype thing. But we had 2 artists. We had Zaiba on tech, we had Elliot on tech, and me as game development and content creation. And after that, for the most part, it was Zaiba on coding and Luigi on art for the greater part of a year. And then I came in with audio and with some of the writing prompts. And then Rohit and I together came together and did a lot of the PR, the biz dev stuff. So call it, two people mostly full time for a year. And then for several months on either end of that, we had a larger group.
Very cool. And Eric says, I may have bought just so I could type that. That's funny.
Sweet. That's the one we broke Steam with that. Their interface kept screwing up, and they kept changing the name of my game to have fewer A's. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm changing it back. And they emailed me and said, you're breaking the interface. Please don't do that.
Please do that. And you're like, it's all right. The sequel is B. They're like, shut up, stop.
Yeah. Well, eventually they changed the interface. They have now what's called the A tests, so that every field has to be at least 25, 6, 7, 8 characters long so that it can fit long titles. So
I see. Okay. So well, you guys are responsible then for improving Steam. I think that's the way to look at it.
That's my contribution to the world.
Yeah. Very, very cool. All right. Well, so let's see. I guess the last question I'll ask you, and then maybe we can do a giveaway and I'll let you go. But the last question I want to ask you is, two things. No, first of all, from what you can tell, based on feedback and things like that, and compared with a lot of knowledge in the industry, do you think sales are going well? I mean, do you get a sort of general, like, is the zeitgeist telling you, yes, this is good?
It is always tricky to tell. I think we're happy, especially between Steam and Humble Bundle. Humble Store sales and the Kickstarter. We are cautiously optimistic. It has been out for a week and 2 days now, right. And who knows how it's going to happen in the long run. But let me just say cautiously optimistic and really happy at the critical success, which hopefully will drive sales.
That's true, and you guys have got a lot of critical attention, and hopefully we'll continue to kind of build that up. That's really great. Okay, and then the other question is the obvious one, which is what next? I mean, I know you said you're prototyping a lot of different stuff, but I don't know. What's the thing that you're farthest along with that you're not supposed to tell anybody about, but you'll just accidentally let slip here because,
I like the idea. Let me take a step back. We've done a lot of games that have required big teams, and big by the indie standards means like 6 to 12, so right. Small teams. I want to actually just sit back, and while Drunken Robot Pornography is doing its thing and Elegy for a Dead World it's doing its thing, we'll tweak on those for a bit. I want to spend 6 months sitting like, I imagine Stephen King sits at the top of an ivory tower and he just writes. Well, wouldn't it be nice if I could get back to my roots and sit there for 6 months and just prototype things before I spin up a team or what have you? And so I have a bunch of things in mind. Like, I've always wanted to be a starship captain. I love Star Trek: The Next Generation. Wouldn't it be neat to be able to do something like that that's different from the sort of dystopic, everything is dark and gritty and awful.
Yep.
And so that's one idea. I've been sort of writing that in the background. And then another thing is, Elegy for a Dead World is something where you create, you write, you create stories. Well, how about something that appeals more to my technical side? So, something where you're playing in 10 years' time, all warfare will be robot drone warfare. Wouldn't it be neat if you were playing an RTS where the play was literally programming the artificial intelligence for all of the drones? Now, this is something that's been done in a few ways. Most notably, MIT has a competition where you program heavy-duty AI for that. But I would like to bring something like that to Steam and to make it really accessible to people, so that can you outsmart your opponent by thinking about logic?
Interesting. That's a really neat idea. Actually, the thought of programming them also ahead of time,
exactly,
and just sort of seeing how they work as opposed to micromanaging when it happens would be an interesting sort of variation on that genre too. Just sort of set them loose and see how well the AI kind of processes. Anyway, I like either one of those ideas, and I'm with you. Anything that could sort of cut down. I write more fantasy than science fiction, but man, I am so tired of the dystopic everyone's going to die. Though it's sort of funny to say that after we just saw Elegy for Dead World, but I mean, good lord, I think now the sort of the brave new vision of the future can't be new when it's always the exact same vision, which is everyone dies. So it would be nice if there was a more optimistic Star Trek, style vision of the future. So either one of those looks like they're really great. Yeah, exactly, Fallen. Now people can learn how to run drone attacks. What could go wrong? Exactly. All right. Well, so are we able to? So, do you mind giving away a key there, Ichiro?
Do you have? Did we give you a key already, or
we gave me a key from me, but you didn't give one otherwise. And I'm actually going to. I have a little giveaway system in my chat that we can do.
So I will Skype you a key.
All right.
So all I have to do is find the keys.
That's fine. While I'm doing that, I'm actually going to put in the giveaway. Let's see. This one is pretty simple, I think, for this one. So if you guys are interested in winning this game, a copy of the game that you've just seen me play through, then please type in the word Elegy. Not a shock. Please type in the word Elegy if you are interested in winning a copy of this game. And you will get a chance to do this yourself. Write prompts, make up your own stories, talk about cats, whatever you like. And I just saw the key pop through, so that is great. And again, thank you very much, Ichiro. I know that sometimes people sort of have this, well, of course they gave away keys, but I mean, especially for smaller independent companies, it's not nothing to give away a game. Which is, by the way, although nobody supports this on my stream anyway, the thought of even considering about trying to hack or pirate a game like this ought to be anathema to you. This is the kind of stuff that ought to be paid full freight, so you definitely go out and buy this, even if you don't win the copy that's about to happen right now. All right, and let's see. So we do have a number of people who are interested. So last call, everybody. Last call. If you are interested in winning a copy of this game, please type in the word Elegy. If you are interested in winning a copy of this game. Last call. Don't have to go home to a dead world, but you can't stay here. All right, and I'm going to close this down in just a minute. Last call. Yes, of course we can read a story from someone else. We're gonna do that, and I'm gonna give Chad a chance to play through this as well, Glog. So we're gonna do it for sure. All right, and the winner.
Oh, I can't wait. Dun dun dun.
Is Frosty Ray. Hey, woo! Frosty, congratulations, Frosty. Congratulations, Frosty. You have won one. Huzzah. And let me, as soon as Frosty does the, oh my god, as she was saying it, oh my god.
Wow, how did you know?
I just had this sense. Let's see.
You're psychic.
Why? There we go. It's like, come on, Twitch, work with me. All right, let me send this key right over before I forget about it, and then I will say goodbye properly. There we go. Dead world code. Congratulations. All right. And Frosty, it is on its way to you. So that is courtesy of Dejobaan Games. And it should be on its way to you. So when Twitch opens it up, you are more than welcome, Frosty. Make sure she cries happily. Make sure that it's actually working, Frosty, as well. Make sure that that you got it okay and that it works okay, but it should be fine. The message has been successfully sent to you. All right, well, guys, so we are not going to stop playing this, but I am going to let Ichiro go because he's been kind enough to stay overtime with us, which was more than generous. I am extremely impressed with this game. I was impressed with it conceptually. I'm impressed with the way that it was sort of represented, as I actually played through it. I think this is a winner. I don't know how niche the market is or not. I'd like to think it isn't because I think a lot of people actually care about story, but in creating their own stories. But either way, this is great stuff, and I'm very grateful that you were able to come on and that you responded so quickly to all of it also. So thank you very much for the keys. Thank you very much for the interview, and best of luck with this. It looks really great. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me and for the kind words. And for anybody watching, you can visit us at Dejobaan.com. That's just like it's spelled. And popcannibal.com.
Yeah, so can we get some love in chat for that? And actually, can someone throw a link in? Although I guess you could do it too if you want, Ichiro. Just throw a link into the website also. If this game is about dead civilizations, are you a ghostwriter? There you go, Messiah.
Oh, wow.
I like it. That's good stuff. Very cool. All right, there are the links. Go there, and yes, thank you for making a very unique game, is the case, and also Pop Cannibal as well. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Ichiro, so much again. I appreciate it, and
Thanks a
again,
lot.
best of luck, and hopefully we can get some more attention to the game as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a good night. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, cool stuff, guys. Cool stuff. Reply to the message real quick. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right, nice. That was really cool. I was really excited about that interview because I had a sense that it was really going to be unique and different and everything else, and I think all of those things are the case. It is what I was hoping it would be, and I think that's pretty amazing. So, very, very cool stuff. All right, guys. So, what we are going to do tonight is we are actually going to play through this one more time. We're actually going to read a story as Glog requested, and then I'm going to give all of you guys a chance. Yeah, he is a nice guy for sure. Then I'm going to give all of you guys a chance to write your own story as well. We will do it collectively as chat. I'm going to use the same world, I think. Well, maybe I won't do that. No, maybe I'll do a different world so we can all sort of experience it together. And then once that's finished, once we're done with that, which will be about maybe 10:30, then I'm going to have to sign off a little bit earlier. I am completely swamped with end of semester grading and things like that. And we're going to be playing D&D tomorrow night as well, so I have got to get stuff done. So I'm going to, we're going to play, as I say, another 35-40 minutes, and then I'm going to be signing off again a little bit early. I hope everyone understands, but I need to, get some work done. Starting next week, we'll be on the winter break schedule, and I'll be able to stream a little bit longer as well. So that's the deal. I made my own story, Zamaria, but I did not make anyone else's. So first things first, let's go back and read a couple of stories from this planet. My work has yet to be commended. What? Why has my work yet to be commended? I'm just kidding. Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about recent. Alright, let's talk about popular. What? I mean, nothing to read. What are you talking about? It's not true. Cannot be. Oh, and you can actually subscribe. That's interesting. Did I lose that connection, maybe? Oh, there we go. There it is. All right, let's talk about Rise and Fall of the Mighty Kaddish. Okay, so this is done by a guy named Bruce Humphrey. 50,000 years ago, this was home to a proud race of cat-like people, the Kaddish. They covered their planet with a powerful defensive force field and created what they thought was an impregnable defense system that would convert their planet into a paradise. Other worlds were afraid of the rising power of the Kaddish and at the same time envied and lusted for their technologies. For millennia, their technological prowess was unmatched in the known universe. Other races which tried to attack were repelled by the force field. This guy needs to work on his were versus where. Towering buildings rose up for miles, almost touching the impregnable force field, like technological fingers rising from the earth trying to grasp the sky. The heart of their force field system was the soul of the panther in honor of the wife of their god, Lion. It was a very powerful generator of quantum energy. It was an ingenious piece of technology, using the uncertainty principle to generate a force field which could always stop the lesser technology of other races, which were based on the principle of action and consequence. Children sang dreamily of this. Elders took it for granted. In dark corners and private rooms, however, some of the Kaddish people started whispering. Whispers of treason from the most religious amongst them. Whispers about the ever higher towers and the force field being an offense to their god, Lion. But like anything that is built by a sentient race, after thousands of years, it all began degrading, feeling the inexorable pull of entropy. Thank you, Doc Jekyll. For some reason, I thought you were already following me, Doc Jekyll. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Arvanauts. The process accelerated from within by the whisperers. There was a fall. The same people who whispered in dark corners, the most religious of the Kaddish, started a silent revolt, a revolt against technology. The technocrats were sure the savages, as they called them, could do nothing against their technology-fueled superiority. But nature never rests, thank you, Shadow. It always has its forces working, slowly, patiently, like a river slowly erodes the mightiest of rocks. The savages had on their side nature. They had entropy and they also had soul. No technology could stand up to that. A mere echo of their previous technological greatness thousands of years later, they built and dwelled in simple straw-roofed mud huts. The most advanced technological race thousands of years before was now back to its roots as simple nature-loving cat people. They were happy, they were united. They had soul, they were in touch with their nature. Of all the lessons they could have learned, they took the longest to learn that someone out of touch with nature is out of touch with themselves. Primitive paints on the walls were actually technological diagrams, but the only ones who knew how to read them, the Englishamans, made sure to keep the secrets safe until needed someday in the future. But inexorably, the unstoppable force of the river of time took even that knowledge away from them. And in the end, despite their previous technological might, their legacy was one of a peaceful, nature-loving people who disappeared when a race of pink and brown furless monkey people attacked them with the only purpose of stealing their resources for their own dying planet, Earth. That twist, though! That twist! Oh, and then you can commend the author. So that's cool. So you read it, and then you can commend it. Oh, cool. Neat. That's cool. All right, let me see if I can find one that looks like the silliest. So if you guys, guys are gonna have to go here. I know, right? Plot twist. You guys are going to have to go and vote up. You're going to have to, whoever buys this game is going to have to go commend my story so we can find it again. Otherwise, we'll have a hard time finding it. See, right now mine is in like the middle. See, there's mine, The Fall of a World. Ridges. English Shaman. Oh, okay. Maybe, yeah, that could be. That could be. Very cool. Alright, that's neat. Cool. Alright. Alpaca. I should do that, right? Let me, alright. Let's see if I can find the alpaca one. It's done by kind of never know run. That guy. That guy. Alright, let's find alpaca. An alpaca's lament. 50,000 years ago, this planet was home to alpacas. So many alpacas. Thousands, probably. They covered their planet with whatever it is grows on alpacas. Fur, hair, fluff, and created the fluffiest planet in the known universe. Other worlds were in awe of the absolute adorableness of the planet, and visitors came from light years away to roll and frolic in the fluff. Honestly, it sort of freaked the alpacas out a little. Imagine if someone started rolling around and giggling in your front yard. Gross. For millennia, the absolute cuteness, profound fluffiness, and unbearable cuddliness was unmatched. Towering buildings started appearing to house all the tourists. What's up, G-Man? There were hotels and tourist traps popping up all over the place, disrupting the formerly endless miles of downy goodness. The heart of their unmatched snuggableness was the heart of cute! Children sang of this. Elders kept the secret alpaca traditions amongst their people, animals, for generations. In dark corners and private rooms, however, some alpacas were not content with their tradition of cuddly secretiveness. I think we need some more. They coveted the wealth of the hotels and the tourist traps, the most popular of which was a giant ball of alpaca fluff measuring over a mile wide. But like anything that wondrous, after thousands of years, things deteriorated. Unrest grew, as did greed. The downy fluff that once covered the land became thinner and thinner as demand for it grew more and more. There was a fall. The same people who had flocked to the planet to enjoy its splendors had facilitated its demise. The rebels won, and what few secrets were left after the destruction of the elders was sold off and taken far away from that world. But nature never dies. Not completely. The grass continued to grow, and the sun continued to rise and set. But there was no doubt that the planet of the alpacas was not what it had once been. An echo thousands of years later, they built fluff huts. These dwellings were mere shadows of the once godlike carpet of downy fur that had once covered the plains, but they were all that remained of the alpaca's civilization. Of all the lessons they could have learned, basic economics probably would have been the most useful. Seriously, if the elders had taken 5 minutes to sit down with their kids and explain some basic principles, they would probably still be here. And in the end, despite it being completely avoidable, their legacy was taken by outside manufacturers. Their city shrank, the hotels emptied, the tourist traps became empty shells of what they had once been. The giant fluff ball torn apart for scraps. Oh, of course we're going to commend this. I commend you. Saru Semic. Good times. Alright, guys. Best story ever. The poor alpacas. Hashtag alpaca 2014, never forget. Alright, here we go, folks. So, we are going to get a chance to go to... Which world is this? I like the library one. Okay, so we're going to do this now. This is going to be done by you guys together. Oh, wait. No, 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 no. No, I want prompts, though. I want prompts. I want us to have prompts to work with. I don't want us to be completely flying blind here. Oh, maybe you can't. So this is all freeform? Oh, alright, okay. That's fine, then. So this is the only one that's got the prompts in it. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Something's wrong. I think I somehow lost Steam here. I think I somehow lost Steam is what happened. There we go. Yeah, I kind of lost Steam there for a moment, so give me a second. Let's do the library one. There we go. Alright, here we go. The 4 Ages of Byron's World. Hell yeah. Sections 15. The apocalypse. Okay, here we go. So the way this is going to work, guys, is we're going to go and each prompt, I'm going to do a giveaway for each prompt, okay? And whoever wins the giveaway actually gets to be the one who types in a prompt. Now, I reserve the right, please, family friendly, okay? It can be funny if you want to make it funny or not, but I would ask that you try to work together with each other to build a story. I would also, if you don't mind, I'd like to regularize the spelling. So, if, you know, just sort of correct the spelling if it's incorrect. And the last thing is no, like, profanity, please. Okay, so let's try to keep it on that level. Other than that, though, it's all up to you. I know, right, Dogmeat? So, here we go. Actually, what I'll do is I'll come to a prompt and then I'll do this. So, okay, so your first prompt is, they say everything comes to an end. Here in the sand, their first colony, what? And again, you can fill in as much as you want. So, for this one, we'll do... Okay, so type in first prompt, and whoever wins this gets to be the one who does the line. So first prompt. First prompt, and you will get to do it. And as you're typing it in, think about what you want to do. They say everything comes to an end. Here in the sand, their first colony... What? Alpaca prompt. All right. Ha ha ha. You did not let go. Alright, Smacky. Alright, Smacky, you get the first call. What's it gonna be, Smacky? They say everything comes to an end. Here in the sand, their first colony, what, Smacky? What do you want me to type in? Their first colony, what? Good to see you, Mike. So what's it going to be? Here in the sand, their first colony... They say everything comes to an end. Here in the sand. It doesn't have to be a single word. Here in the sand, their first colony. And by the way, as you guys, when you first enter the contest, one thing that can be helpful is to start maybe writing on a notepad, like, you know, I mean, Windows notepad, or something, just what you want to do so that you can type it in so we don't take super, super long each time. Because I'd like, you know, we have 15 of these that I'd like to get through. So, I mean, not 15 different stories, I mean 15 prompts. So, okay, I can see how this is going to go. Their first colony succumbed. I see we've got a different sense of things. All right. Second prompt. The settlers of Byron's world formed their settlement far below ground, initially because... The settlers of Byron's world formed their settlement far below ground, initially because... Now, the only one who can't win this is Smacky. So Smacky cannot enter this, but anybody else... sorry, Loki. But the only one... you gotta work with it. You gotta work with it. So if you want to do this, type in second prompt. The only one who can't do this is Smacky, but everybody else can type in second prompt, including Mike. I'm going to tell you all right now that I reserve the right at, if Mike has not won one of these, by the middle of this, I'm going to give Mike a chance to do one of these prompts because, as you guys know, Capoeirist Mike is not only a friend, but a writer himself, so I want to give him a shot. So if he has not won by the middle of this, I'm going to executive decision do this. Oh, no problem, man. No problem. I hope you enjoy it, man. Shadowgate should be fun times. Second prompt, if you guys are interested. Second prompt. It is going to be like Mad Libs, yep. There was a version of this that we actually did, and I think it was at Worldcon. I don't know if Mike remembers this, because I think this was at Worldcon in San Antonio. And it was basically a huge, massive thing where I think they called it Writers Behind Glass or something, and they had a bunch of writers who signed up, and then they took, each had maybe 10 or 15 minutes to write, and then they would leave, and then the next writer came in, and this went on all weekend. And I think they had George R.R. Martin and Pat Rothfuss did this, and then they had a couple of friends of mine that were involved and did it as well. And they said sort of watching it kind of move over time was interesting, you know, so. Can we do Mad Libs on stream sometime? I suppose so, Apple. Sure, why not? Okay, so is that it? Last call? Last call, last call. Nice! All right, Mike. What just happened there? He did not seriously get timed out, did he? Can we untime him out, please, immediately? Who did that? Okay, sorry about that, Mike. Ooh. Because of the crystal spiders that hunted mammals for their heat. It's alright, Lego. It's okay. What's up with intent? It's okay, Lego. I just don't want people to get the wrong idea. Yeah, it's okay, Lego. Don't worry about it, man. So, the settlers of Byron's world formed their settlement far below ground, initially because of the crystal spiders that hunted mammals for their heat. Very nice. Alright, we go inside here. Ooh. They brought things from Earth that reflected their values. They were a people who blanked, but never blanked. They brought things from Earth that reflected their values. They were a people who blanked, but never blanked. Alright, you guys got it? It's a good one, Mike. Good stuff. Alright. So for this one, we'll do... Alright, third prompt. This time, no Smacky, no Mike, but everybody else can enter. They brought things from Earth that reflected their values. They were a people who blanked, but never blanked. They should throw your world in this, Mike. Elegy for a dead Titan god that they made a bones of a city out of. Right? So yes, third prompt. Anybody who wants can be in this, except for Smacky and Mike. Third prompt. Okay. All right. Last call. Yeah, next week I'm going to be starting up a Dragon Age again, which I've been having a great time with. Oh, by the way, for people who missed this, yes, Smacky, that's funny, Smacky. I forgot to mention, for those of you who weren't here, we had a really good turnout last night, did a really great raid, but we did the raid of this guy named Greg K, and I didn't realize about it. No, the scenarios are not randomly generated, no. The prompts are not randomly generated either. You can do freeform prompts, but like the way the world looks is always the same. But the role that you play differs based on the writing prompt that you did. So, nice. Awesome, Heavens. That's awesome, man. Welcome in. So what was I going to say? So the person that we raided was Greg K. So we raided and they're like, the Argonauts have landed, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, hey, what's up? And they're like, oh, and we're like, yeah, we're raiding, hey, I noticed you were playing Dragon Age Inquisition and I just wanted to, sort of, send some people over and see how it was going. I was like, oh, that's great. And then someone said, well, you know who this is, right? And I was like, what? No. That guy is the president of Supergiant Games and used to work for GameSpot. He was the guy that made Bastion and Transistor, his company. I was like, what? I totally didn't even notice. I was like, blah, 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 Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm like, oh, that's about like 3 lines down. He has about like 30 people in there. I was like, all right, yeah, let's send some people over his way. Complete luck that we ended up raiding him. So it was pretty funny. I was like, man, the people you find on Twitch. Very, very cool sort of stuff. Okay. I see a Santa. What? Food? Oh, wow. Look at that. It's a 2015 calendar. For who is this from?
Me.
Oh, it's from you? Oh, you made it? For me?
Not for you. For Mama too.
Oh, wow. Look at this. My daughter just made this calendar for us. 2015 heart calendar. Right, Mike? I know, right, Dog Meat? My God. That's awesome. This is my, this is my birthday. This is my cake. It says that's January. I love you, Mom and Dad. Happy Valentine's Day. That belongs on the fridge. This belongs in a museum. Hey, Cenevine, do you see this guy this person right here in the green? Capoeirist Mike. That's our friend Mike. Remember Mike with the glasses? that we saw in New York at the time, and he's eaten with us, and we've seen him since then. That's him. Isn't that cool? Let's see. This is a rainbow. Inside of the rainbow is a pot of gold. Messiah says, your daughter draws better than me and I'm 22. That's really cool, honey. Thank you so much. Ooh, check it out. This is Halloween. Notice the all black and white, the sort of, and the grayscale. Notice for Halloween. That's right there. And dear Mom and Dad, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you would like my present. I wish you would like it. Love sending to Mom and Dad. And there is my awesome daughter. And this is for me.
Also for Mama, too.
Dear Mom and Dad, you are the one I know. You are the person I love. Love, sending me. Sweetie, yeah, fancy letters. Yay, that's awesome, baby. Thank you, sweetheart. This is beautiful. We got to put this on the fridge downstairs. Or actually, right where we keep the other calendars. You know, so we can have it for 2015.
Yeah. Maybe we should not even have that again.
No, that's true. Thank you, baby. That's awesome. Yeah, she's a sweetie. I agree. Quite possibly the most wonderful calendar ever created. Yeah, my kid is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm not sorry. I'm never sorry that she came in, of course, but I'm sorry that we kind of did this. All right, and the winner? Apples. All right, apples. Super Mario, never forget. Ooh, look at this. They were people who reflected their valor. Reflected their... they were people who hid but never feared. Ah, so he wants us to change values. Valor. They were people who hid but never... Whoops. Cured. But never feared. Nice. Good one. Lego. Very nice. Very nice. It's a good one. They brought things from Earth that reflected their valor. They were a people who hid but never feared. Nice, apples. I dig it. Very cool stuff. This is all that is left of the first settlement of Byron's world. Their biggest mistake... blank. Yes, you can. I don't want you to erase it entirely, Dogmeat. I don't want you to totally get rid of a prompt. I want us to try to work with the prompts, but you can certainly change parts of it, yeah. You can change... blah, 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 blah. That is all that's left of the first settlement of Byron's world. Their biggest mistake... blank. Hey, dear, what's up? All right, if you guys want to type in this next one, please type in fourth prompt. Everyone is allowed except for Smacky, Mike, and Apples. Everybody else is allowed. A Valley Without Wind. That sounds familiar to me, Loki. Is that an older game? It sounds familiar somehow. Fourth prompt. Yes, this is all that's left of the first settlement of Byron's world, their biggest mistake. Blank. It's oldish. Yeah, it sounds familiar. A Valley Without Wind. Definitely sounds familiar. Alright. Last call. Yeah, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind, sure. Definitely.